Hello and welcome to this video tutorial of the Lich King on 10-man difficulty. This video is intended for members of the Wyrm Guild, but others may find it useful. First I'm going to run through an ideal raid setup for this fight. Hunter is required for redirections and trank shots. For healers I would recommend the following setup: Paladin, Shaman, Druid. You can also add a Disc Priest in there and substitute any of the three. It's entirely your choice, we just went with what works for us. For the remaining raid spots, you can either go with one mage and one lock, or alternatively double up with two mages or two locks. It doesn't really matter. For melee, I would recommend a rogue, just so that you can perform tricks and redirect threat. However, it's not required. By all means, use what we did, which was two Death Knights. The reason why, I'll explain later. Right, let's begin the fight. So, during phase 1, the Lich King will start his roleplay. Quite a long speech. At that point, just make sure everybody's prepped up in a position. As you can see, we've taken position on the outer edge of the ring, just on the edge where it begins. Our off tank is marked with a triangle there, as you can see. His duty is just to pick up the ghouls and the horrors which will spawn around the Lich King. He pulls them away, but not too far away. As you can see, he takes a position there. Now, as for the Lich King's abilities, the first one is about to proc up. It's called Necrotic Plague. It randomly picks on a member, and that member then has to run towards the off tank and proc it onto the horrors or the ghouls. It ticks for 50k every 5 seconds. It's a pretty nasty debuff. As long as the healers debuff it when the person who has the plague is near one of the ads, then it's great. It just jumps up onto them and kills them instead. For every jump it makes, it increases damage, so ideally you want to be getting it onto the ghouls first. They'll die quicker, stack up onto the horror, and then the horror will eventually die. As you can see, the horror does glow red. When it does, it enrages. It does a lot of damage to the off tank. It's always a good idea to have a hunter in the group, just so that you can tranquilize shot it and calm it down. Failing that, you can always use a paladin off tank, and he can use his stuns to get rid of the rage. When it comes down to the fight, you'll notice that everybody is losing health quite a lot. There's a thing called Infest. Infest is quite a lethal ability. It constantly drains everybody's health and increases in tick the longer it's left unchecked. So you need to get everybody above 90% health to remove the Infest ability. It's pretty controllable as long as you've got good healing. I'd recommend having everybody doing around 4k heals per second. Since the 30% buff in Lich King, it's a lot easier these days. So as I said, keep the heals up and you'll find that it's pretty easy to top everyone up, especially with a druid healer. Throughout the fight then, as you can see, we've got one horror up there still, but his health is depleting quite rapidly. This is due to the necrotic plague kicking on him. At this point we decided to phase change the boss and change it into phase 1.5. That's at 70% health. At this point we run to the edge and we form 3 lines: the healers at the back, the range in the middle, and the melee and tanks at the front. Raging spirits will spawn off of people randomly. They need to be picked up by the main tank at that point, who basically swipes them, picks them up, and then brings them over to the off tank so that he can DPS them down. As you can see there, Zilia, who is marked with diamond, is picking them up and bringing them towards Manstram so that he can grab them off and then carry on DPSing. Orbs will spawn from the Lich King. I recommend having 1 or maximum 2 people looking out for them. They have 6k health. They don't do an awful lot of damage. Just bear in mind that if they hit you, they throw you off the ledge, which makes it basically a wipe. In other words, nuke them quickly with a quick shot and then carry on nuking down the raging spirits. After 4 waves, you'll find that the Lich King gets basically pretty much pissed off, nukes the outer ring, and you have to run back into the center. Now at this point, everybody has to centralize and move into the center of the room and carry on DPSing down the remaining raging spirits. Ideally, there are no more than 2 alive at that point, and the tanks normally mark down the one that they would prefer to get rid of. Now, as you can see, a Valkyrie has just spawned. They pick people up and they drag them to the edge of the room. Now they can be slowed down, stunned, all manner of things can basically be done to them. I recommend using a paladin who can stun it, Death Knights who can use their ice chill, and as you can see it's just been procced there. Other times you can of course use grounding totem from a shaman, And all you have to do is make sure you stop the Valkyrie from pulling the person off the ledge. As soon as that's over, you then re-centralize. Now there's a new ability as well to watch out in phase 2, which is called Defile. Now when Defile activates, which you're about to see, the cooldown has just appeared on my bar. At that point, people need to spread out to the outer edge of the room as quickly as possible to stop it activating. Now I'm going to pick on Alundai here. He did it a bit late, and as you can see, the Defile has spawned in the center ring. Now ideally you want to dodge that and avoid it as much as possible. A Defile in the center can mean a wipe. As long as it's controlled quickly though, you can get away with it. The longer you stay in Defile, the more it grows. If you're in it for more than a couple of seconds, it can overtake the entire room. So you can see why it's important to react quickly to it. Basically, you can see I'm running out to the edge here, another Defile's coming, everybody's getting ready, and then as soon as Defile's activated, you can see over there in the north by the stairs, we re-centralize. We do that quickly because a new Valkyrie is coming, so you have to balance out the Infest, the Defile, and the Valkyries. Once you've got it done, it seems daunting, but it's actually quite straightforward. It becomes a dance. So as you can see here, the Valkyrie is being stunned, it's being slowed down, it's being chilled. It can't really do a lot. They're just nuking it down quite efficiently there. At phase 3, which is basically at 40%, he'll reactivate what you saw in phase 1.5, and we'll go over that shortly. Now, as you can see at the moment, I'm basically directing Zilia to make sure that he takes a better position inside the center. Sometimes the tanks do forget that it's important to stay centralized because the Valkyries will pick on the person furthest away from the center. So it's always a good idea to make sure that, for instance, the melee aren't with the tank at the time and then being dragged out to the outer edge. So once again, Valkyrie spawns. You can see also Defile is coming, so everybody's spreading out. Defile is procced, and then we're re-centralizing.